Hi guys, this is GM the Life Coach. I know it's been a while since I've dropped a podcast. It's been a long while, good couple months. But I've been doing loads of different things. This coronavirus got me into a bit of a funk at one point. I'm just getting back into it. Had the summer holidays, starting new ventures, all sorts going on. So I just want to apologize for the lack of podcasts. But there are podcasts that I've done last year that still need to be uploaded, and they're going to be uploaded now. And I'll also be doing some new ones soon as well. So I just want to just apologize for that. Today's podcast is from a guy who I've known for years, since secondary school, called Max. And his story is one that is just going to blow your mind. It fits in with all the stuff we've been talking about in terms of injustice, racism, George Floyd, that sort of the whole thing that's going on now with everybody being treated equal. I hope that you enjoy this interview. It's going to be split up into 4 parts. So today's interview is going to be part 1, and progressively in the next couple of weeks we're going to get to part 4. But it's a real compelling story, and I will hope that you guys like it. And it's crazy how this was done a year ago, but it's very poignant as to how things are going now, and lets us think about maybe the other side of the coin, so to speak. So I hope you like it. Hope you enjoy it. Do give me feedback. You can email me on gmthelifecoach336@gmail.com. That's gmthelifecoach336@gmail.com, and let me know what's happening. I'm also a life coach. If you need any, you want to talk, or you want to express your feelings, or you just want some guidance, just affirmations, even for the day coming up, get at me at gmthelifecoach336@gmail.com. So guys, let's get into it. This is Max, and this is his journey, and this is GM the Life Coach podcast. Let's do it.
GM the Life Coach.
Hi guys, this is GM the Life Coach. I'm here with a friend of mine, Max, who I've known for years.
What's up?
Yeah, man. We've been trying to get this podcast going for
at least a couple of months now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Never can find the time.
Indeed. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure. So, we're going to do a journey today. So we're going to continue the series that we're doing, and we're going to learn a little bit about Max, because he's done a lot in his time. Because you sometimes you think, oh, I've done a lot, and I listen to him, he's like, oh no, he's done more than me. So it's amazing. So all right, Max, so let's go way back.
Back in the time.
Let's go to primary school. Let's go away.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
wow. A little thing.
The shorts and the cap.
Yeah. So I know you because you came to my secondary school.
That's right.
But obviously you've been in the secondary school before.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to know you that as well as I could have known you.
Yeah, because we didn't go to primary school.
Yeah, exactly. And halfway through the year as well, you came as well.
Indeed, yes.
The schooling year. So let's take it back to primary school. So
cool.
Where were you living at that time?
So I grew up in Sidcup, which is for anybody who doesn't know that area, is a very, very sheltered white suburban area, and was living the dream up until I'd say about up until the age of 6 or 7. So mum, dad, car in the garage, 2 holidays a year.
Yeah.
So everything was going good. Living on one of them kind of roads where everybody knew each other, so the neighbours knew the neighbours who knew the neighbours, and we knew everybody who lived across the road. So there was none of this kind of otherness. Do you know what I mean? Which we kind of have today. Where nobody knows who they're living next to because everybody's afraid to knock on the door and borrow a cup of sugar.
Yeah.
So that was my growing up in primary school. I went to a local primary school, which was literally around the corner from my house, and I could walk there. Would you imagine doing that today?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was 8 when I was allowed to walk on my own.
Wow.
So 8 years old, walking to school on my own with my friends. You could never imagine anything like that happening today. Do you know what I mean? So the name of the school was Dulverton Primary School, still there. And
what was the area?
So that's in Sidcup as well. So so you've got Eltham, New Eltham, and then you've got Sidcup. And so then you got Sidcup, you've got Chislehurst, Orpington, Swanley.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of neck of the woods. So essentially, if you're going from East London through the Blackwall Tunnel, through Kidbrooke, and then boom, that's the cluster. That's where I was.
Yeah, yeah.
And so and as I said, it was very, very sheltered. It was very white. Do you know what I mean? You know, it was very there was I think there was like two Asian children in my class, and the rest was like it was like Trump's calling card.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It was
yeah.
just like white kids everywhere.
Yeah.
No black children, no African children, no Caribbean children, no mixed race children. There was or dual heritage. That was it. Do you know what I mean? You know, it was like ghost town. Literally, it was just like white people everywhere.
Yeah.
And that was my growing up, and it was cool. Do you know what I mean? You know, obviously when I say up until 6 and 7, that was when my parents divorced, and that's when things changed. From on not just on a sociological aspect, but also on a psychological aspect as well, because it's like everything you knew up until that part, done, deal, it's all finished.
Wow. So were you only child?
Yeah.
You were only child?
Yeah.
Okay, like me.
Yeah, it had its plus sides, but it also it spent a lot of lonely days.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I remember when I was younger. I always wanted to, especially in primary school, I always wanted a brother, because all my friends had like a brother or another sibling that always, we used to play out.
Yeah.
So they had somebody else.
Yeah.
When I only had one friend that didn't have a brother, and I thought, it's great, and then they had a sister.
It's like,
so I was like, now I'm the only one. Do you know what I mean? Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Jump into my nightmare. Go on.
So what was it like for you as an only child? Because I haven't spoken to many only child children in my time. So
right.
How did you find it?
Okay, so like I said, there's plus sides and there's downsides. The downside obviously is the abject loneliness. Do you know what I mean? It's just like but then through the loneliness I had a real sense of imagination.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You get really creative. Do you know what I mean? You spend a lot of time in your room alone. It's like there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're like thinking, how can I get He-Man and She-Ra to marry each other? Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna put them together. I'm gonna be the ultimate matchmaker here. And and I was so I kind of spent a lot of time in my own world. And that was always interesting, because being I was always fascinated with music. Music was the dominant factor in my life ever since, even before I turned 6. My party trick that my parents used to get me to do was to name the track that was on the radio, or just name the track, and they would play a song. Boom! It's the Thompson Twins, "Hold Me Now," or Stevie Wonder, "When You See a Chance." Do you know? It didn't matter what it was. That was my party trick. And I said, watch what Max can do, and then I was like, okay, Max has got a good memory for music. Anyway, later on in life, that's when I found out that I was kind of high-end autism. So
Wow.
Yeah,
okay,
for real.
Okay.
For real. So because both of my oldest children are high-end autistic as well, diagnosed.
Right.
And I was like, man, I'm gonna get this shit checked out. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, I dropped an S-bomb there. Is that okay? Yeah. Right. So so I was like, maybe I better get this checked out. And sure enough, I'm on the spectrum. So,
wow.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, but that's obviously later on in life. I digress.
Yeah. It gets too far.
but that only child really did. It really did kind of open up that level of creativity in me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So and I was blessed to have a grandfather who was very eccentric. He was he was very eccentric, and I wasn't. I didn't really want for anything. And I remember at 4 years old, he got me a BBC computer, which had about as much memory, 32K. There's more memory in this wire here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your watch has more memory than my whole computer ever did. Do you know what I mean? 32K BBC micro beat, and that's when I learned about computers because he said to me, he said, "This is going to be the future.
Mm-hmm.
This is the." He saw the curve.
Yeah.
He saw it before anybody else did. That's
Yeah.
eccentricity for you.
Yeah.
He just saw that, like, this is. Everybody's going to be having one. Everybody's going to be working on one.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know and need to understand it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's where my interest in gaming came from
Right.
at such a young age. Do you know what I mean, you
Mhm.
know, Nintendo hadn't even been invented yet. So
Yeah,
there
yeah.
I was playing like block games and
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
that came on a cassette. No, this came on a cassette.
Oh wow, those ones.
This came on a
The
cassette.
Spectrum.
Yeah, like and there was and all the best licensed games like Ghostbusters and all that, they were for the Commodore 64.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like
You
it
had
was
the
like the
bottom
equivalent of your friend who had a Commodore. It was like they had a Lamborghini and you were driving a Skoda. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
just like they
yeah.
would, and no one ever wanted to talk about the Skoda.
Oh my
Skoda boy.
gosh, my days. That system I've even heard of. So yes, I know it was.
You know, I tell you the best way to describe it. The BBC computer was utilised by nearly every school in the UK at the time. It was
yes.
like it had a cream.
Yes, I remember it.
And it had red function keys at the top,
mhm.
black keys,
Mhm.
and it was just like, you know, that's revolutionary.
Yeah, actually, I do remember,
That's
yeah.
revolutionary.
I remember actually. Yeah.
But yeah, and
That's a long
then
time
when my school got the same computer as me, I was like, oh look, they got the same. So
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah,
stuff on that
yeah,
that no one else knew.
yeah.
And they're like, how'd you do that? And I'm like, well, you know, I've got one of these at home.
So were you a cool kid at school?
I was a cool kid at
Yeah,
school,
yeah.
in primary school,
Yeah.
when that was, I wouldn't necessarily say I was a popular kid,
Mhm.
but I was definitely not one of the ones that was at the lower end of the food chain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
not, I was not a bullied kid in primary school.
Mhm.
We'll come on to that. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that I was the number one kid. I got invited to parties. That was a kind of the rubber stamp of whether you were accepted by your peers. Is whether they wanted you to come to their house.
Yeah.
You know, whether
sure.
they wanted you to kind of come after school for tea and all that kind of malarkey as well.
Yeah.
So I would say that to some extent I was considered a popular kid, but not the upper echelons of popular.
Okay, so not disliked, but you know.
Yeah.
So what were you good at in primary school? What were
was I good at?
your subjects or?
Music was definitely
Mhm.
one of the things that I excelled at. Computer science.
Yeah.
And reading. I love to read.
Mhm.
My reading record was insane.
Wow.
I used to read for my year, I was the only one that was allowed to go and get the books that were for upper years. So I really immersed myself in things like I was reading Tolkien in like first year juniors. Do you know what I mean? So
Wow.
so like Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was like first year junior reading for me.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like kind of secondary school.
Yeah.
You know, they would give that to a secondary school child.
Yeah.
I really got immersed in like choose your own adventure stories as well. They were
I used to love
insane
those.
to me. You remember
I
those?
used to
Like,
love
you know,
those,
if
yeah.
you want to drink
Yeah.
the potion, turn to page 79.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
ones.
yeah.
You know, you got to be this
Yeah.
kind of like roided out
Mhm.
barbarian warrior
Mhm,
type of
mhm,
thing. Do you know what I
mhm.
mean? Those were insane.
Yeah.
I love those stories.
Mm.
You know, so reading, music, computer science, and science in general. I loved science in
Mhm.
general as well.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember I had a chemistry set. I got a chemistry set for my birthday once, and you know, you turn the nail rusty with the copper sulfate and all the rest of it, and you make crystals and all that. And I just remember I just went buck wild one day, and I just started pouring stuff down. You know what I mean? You know, just a major chemical reaction, and just like, you know, there's this white stuff all over. It looked like the end scene of Scarface. It's just like, what's he been doing in here? It's just like, I was messing around with the chemical kit. I don't know what's happened. Where's my eyebrows? So I remember many you know, having to tidy up the room and could not get the stains out of the carpet for love nor money because of the bloody chemicals. It was insane.
It's crazy. Okay. So so you were good at science, good at all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So let's move on
Mm-hmm.
to secondary school.
Oh, God.
And then we can bridge that.
PTSD flashbacks.
Yeah. We can bridge that with, so that whole thing of getting to the top end of the juniors, going into secondary.